Washington's ability to handle difficult circumstances in government grew out of experience in his life and attention to detail. Throughout his life, Washington exhibited vision that all leaders must have. Eventually, this served him well when he became our first president. Washington almost never became president. In fact, he almost became bankrupt. Washington inherited most of his land from his family and friends. The bulk of the farmland was in Virginia. Like many aristocrats, Washington farmed tobacco. However, the profits were not exactly large as he shipped them to England. According to Joseph J. Ellis, even in the face of limited profits, Washington paid a lot of money for dozens of dessert glasses, a hogskin hunting saddle, a custom-made mahogany case with 16 decanters engraved stationery, and many other expensive items he could barely afford. Richard Brookhiser notes that cost was so high in 1763, Washington almost ran out of money and was notified by his broker that he was short 1,800 pounds and interest would begin to accrue immediately. Quickly, Washington realized that he would not be able to pull himself out of debt, and he blamed the British Empire for his problems. One of the saving graces for Washington was getting out of the tobacco industry as his main crop. This move saved him from economic ruin because tobacco taxes became one of the major problems for economic hardship in the colonies. The experience of almost losing his money contributed to Washington's fiscal discipline later while president, and the vision that saved his money in the episode also evident in other areas of his life. Washington lost more battles than he won. However, it was his attention to detail and strategic risk-taking that helped him win in the war. Perhaps the most important battle Washington fought was, according to historian Richard Brookhiser, in the Battle for Sanitation. In Washington's time, troops did not always build latrines and often took to relieving themselves at the base of a fort. Only when a German soldier came to Valley Forge was the practice of building latrines institutionalized in the regulations for the order and discipline of the troops in the United States. In addition to the latrine issue, Valley Forge also represented another serious problem for Washington. His men left in December. Wars during Washington's time took winter breaks, similar to how we do in college, and they would regroup later. In need of a dramatic victory, to keep his troops from leaving him, Washington staged a successful surprise attack in Trenton of Christmas of that year. Almost losing his money made Washington financially responsible. Almost losing his army made him more efficient and strategic. And, as I will discuss next, recognizing the talents of others made him a stronger leader. The forces Washington commanded during the Revolutionary War weren't exactly seasoned veterans, so the general was forced to look in other places to cultivate talent. One of those Washington identified early on as having the necessary skills and drive to make things happen was a man named Henry Knox. Knox was a bookseller from Boston whose only qualification was he was well-read in engineering. Knox used that knowledge to become the chief artillery officer in Washington's army and a future confidant during Washington's administration. In addition to a bookworm, Washington also found a close ally and dependable lieutenants from the ranks of the pacifist Quakers. Nathaniel Greene of Rhode Island was a Quaker, but he supported the war against the British and quickly rose in favor of Washington. Washington thought so much of Greene that he appointed him his successor if he should ever fall. Washington had a knack for knowing when to change crops, when to strike the enemy, and who he can entrust with difficult tasks. All skills he needed to be successful when he later became president. In conclusion, George Washington's early years and times conducting the Revolution gave him experiences he needed to be successful when president. When he ran up debt trying to become a Virginian aristocrat, he demonstrated vision by diversifying his crops and learned the fiscal discipline necessary to lead. During the war, his ability to seize the right moment in Trent illustrated a knack for understanding the importance of timing and strategy. Finally, as a general with few competent soldiers in his army, he showed an ability to identify talented people who could accomplish the task that needed to be done. All in all, Washington's time early in life and as a general gave him the necessary experience to develop important skills he needed when he was elected president. Now, the next time you see his face on a dollar bill or a quarter, you know that George Washington's life was more than a myth or folklore. It was the story of a man with judgment and vision that he learned through hard experiences.